Hi everyone, my name is Mackenzie Quick, and today I'm going to review the rights and responsibilities of test takers, guidelines and expectations. And I want to correlate it because recently I took the NJOSI 1, which is the local police test, and I want to kind of relate it to some experience I've had taking that along with our textbook. So first of all, the NJOSI 1 consists of reading comprehension, mathematics, writing ability, and problem-solving ability. So when I referred to our textbook, it fit into the definition of an aptitude test. So Scheperis 2020 states that aptitude tests measures a person's performance on select tasks to predict how the person will perform sometime in the future and or in a different situation. For this specific reason, it's for law enforcement, so I assume it's for job performance. And with that, some things that I experienced recently that I thought kind of correlated to the rights of the test takers. So the rights of the test takers, guidelines for testing professionals, this specific point says make test takers aware of any material that are available to them in test preparation. These materials should be clearly described in test registration or test familiarization materials. So recently I had the experience where they emailed us. We have a program in which they correspond with us. And unfortunately, due to COVID, they weren't going to provide us a study guide. They typically provide you with a study guide that you can kind of go off of. Unfortunately, they didn't give us that. However, they did give us a link that took you to like a more defined information based on the NJDOSI, so it kind of give you an idea of what would be on the test. And there's also like you could purchase a program in which it would kind of prep you for the test. But unfortunately, they did obviously notify us that unfortunately we weren't able to receive a study guide. However, they did give us other options to kind of research and get an idea of what we will be taking. And then another area in which it specifies says, give or provide test takers with access to a brief description about the test purpose, diagnose, placement, selection, and then the kinds of tests and formats that would be used. So specifically with this one, it stated that it was 45 multiple choice with a behavioral assessment at the end. And when I took the test, when we got to the location, they handed out the test, and it was exactly 45 questions, and it was multiple choice with the behavioral assessment at the end. And another thing that it states is that tell test takers prior to testing about the planned use of the test results. Upon request, the test takers should be given information about how long the test scores are typically kept on file and remain available. This information was provided to us. They said it would take 2 weeks, or sorry, they said it would take us a week before we were able to receive our scores, as well as that our scores will remain on file for, I live in Atlantic County, for a year before you can retake the test, if you need to retake the test. And then D, it says inform test takers in advance of testing about required materials that must be brought to the test site. So in this situation, they actually prefer for you to have like barely any materials. They don't even mention about, they just said bring yourself, park in the back parking lot, and I'm pretty sure that's all they said. Yes. So when I arrived, I actually brought pencils. That was fine at the time. This time also they said masks due to COVID. So we had our masks, and they had pencils there, but some of us brought pencils, which was totally fine in this situation. Other than that, you weren't allowed to have any calculators. You were not allowed to have your phone there. Just yourself is what they expected. And then going on from there, a couple things. So as a test taker, you have the responsibility to ask questions prior to testing if you're uncertain about why the test is being given, how it will be given, and what you will be asked to do and what will be done with the results. So in this case, it was correspondence was through email. So if we had any questions or concerns, we were allowed to email the director. He pretty much, in his email, is very descriptive of the location, what we needed to bring. He gave us the other website, which provided it was 45 questions, multiple choice. So he provided all this information as he should have. And I didn't have any questions at the time, but if I did, I definitely would have reached out. And then going from there, it said, read or listen to descriptive information in advance of testing and listen carefully to all test instructions. You should inform an examiner in advance of testing if you wish to receive a testing accommodation or if you have a physical condition or illness that may interfere with your performance on the test. If you have difficulty comprehending the language of the test, it is your responsibility to inform an examiner. So in this case, they did, when we arrived, they did go over the instructions with us as to how we were to take the test, and how we were to deliver it at the end. And they had us spread out. We only had 2 people to a table. At the ends of the table, they're very long tables too. And they did state in the email, like, if you need any prior accommodations, that was totally fine to contact them ahead of time if need be. So they did mention that. And then 7, be familiar with and accept the consequences of not taking the test should you choose not to take the test. They would just state for you to, like, contact them if you prefer to not take the written test. However, in this case, everyone who was going to take the aptitude test, or wanting to go into the alternate route, which is with local law enforcement, were there to take the test. And then, right, and so those are just a few things that I personally experienced recently. Like I said, with the aptitude test for law enforcement. So it was interesting taking this course because it kind of, I could correlate a lot of what I was experiencing with this course in particular. Like I said, they were measuring more so for job performance because it is within law enforcement. And then they told us, like, our results, we received them in a week. We went online, they were there in a week. And they pretty much told us from there, like, our score from the test made up 60% of our total score, because then we had to do a physical fitness component and pass that aspect. And then we also had to do an oral interview, which was the other 40% of our score. So between all 3, we received a score. And then from there, that's when they decided who would be selected to go into the alternate route for local law enforcement. So I just want to end real quick on a Bible verse. So 1 Peter 5:7, it says, cast all your anxieties on him because he cares for you. So, in all these assessment tools, like, we might have, a little bit of anxieties, but it's there. Like, we have the rights and responsibilities of test takers, guidelines, and expectations. Like, we should be asking questions. We should know, as the administrator, we should be able to, make sure we know our we should know the guidelines and expectations. Like, we should be providing this information to the individuals that are the test takers, make sure they are aware and knowledgeable on what their rights are, and making sure that we're doing our job, and that we just make it a pleasant experience for them, and that they don't feel nervous or anxious. And that, especially with some assessment tests, it could be measuring for depression or anxiety. And overall, it's for us to kind of gain an insight as to where they're at, so that we can further help this individual towards a path of lowering their anxiety and helping them stabilize themselves if they have, mild depression, or from mild depression to moderate from moderate depression to mild depression. So it's more of like a tool, an assessment tool, in which we can kind of measure and kind of help individuals, alleviate what kind of, whether it's anxiety or depression, whatever it might be. So we know that the therapy we're performing is helping them in the long run. So again, thank you guys so much, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your week.